So how did you find that process of building an integration? And I know a lot of it's evolved from, way back when to today. It sounded like you did this fairly early on, because you talked about even using AppDaemon and those kind of tools, which then you ported over to a proper Home Assistant integration. What was that process like? Like, as someone who hasn't done that before, because one of the things that we always hear as a barrier is like, hey, it's really hard to build an integration. It's really hard to get an integration into Home Assistant, which, again, I don't know if it's hard to build it or if it's hard to get it through the system, right? Just because of all the quality checks and all of that stuff. So what was your experience with a lot of that, say?
Yeah, so most of I came actually before the quality checks were in place. So,
Squeaked it right
so
in there. There you go. Yeah.
yeah, that it's a big advantage. And, one of the things every time I take when I add something and then suddenly I see, somebody came in and just changed some bit because they have some, I don't know, there's a new a new class that was created for something, or consts were renamed to enums or stuff like that, and I didn't have to take care of for the beauty of open source. I just put it in there. It's part of the project, and somebody goes over all the integrations and renames whatever, and it's amazing in that term, in those terms. But yeah, at first it was hard to grasp the concepts of the entities, the platforms, the components. Like what is talking to what, and who's talking to. That was also before they had the Greek migration, where every integration was moved to its own directory.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah, so at first, I mean, at first it was quite daunting. It was quite complex, and then with the Great Migration, I some kind of lost track of how things are working, and I think the most complicated part now is to understand that things are happening kind of automatically.
Right.
Like the whole import system, the whole way that the integrations are imported, and you have these names of specific methods that you need to figure out which ones they are. Not all of them are documented. I mean, you do some grepping in the repository, you check for similar integrations, find and then you figure out, oh yeah, there's something that's calling a method that's named some way. If it's named this way, it will be called at a certain stage in the life cycle of the integration. I think that's the most complex part and the most daunting part, because it's not always very clear. But at this stage, yeah, okay, I have been doing this for 7-8 years now, so suddenly it becomes a second nature, and still, I struggle now. I'm trying to get it. They have the new quality checks that
Mm.
they put in. So I actually just managed to get the integration up to, I think it was gold or silver or whatever it was,
Hey,
and
that's
and then
awesome.
everything got to reset because I have to repass all the quality checks.
Oh,
Oh, that's
It
right.
was
That's
like
right.
a couple of weeks later, I was actually talking to I think Yost is his name, the
Yep.
guy who does the, yeah. So he actually super guy. He's been helping a lot with the uh, uh, like all of the guys. It's incredible, the community, the
Yeah.
how, like the I've actually learned a lot about Python, about open source, about most of my knowledge in my day-to-day work comes from, so, like, a lot of it comes in with Python, comes from contributing to a Home Assistant.
because it's an absolutely like fantastic way to learn, right? Like if Python's not like if there's open source projects and the community being so open, just raise a pull request and get feedback, right?
Yeah, I mean, I learned about pre-commits. I learned about all kinds of about rough and about black and all linter tools and packaging and I mean so much stuff that I know nowadays is thanks to this involvement with Home Assistant. I needed to package my first package. You know, I needed to have a third party library.
How much maintenance do you like provide to your integration? Like, are you updating it every release? Like, or is it pretty much okay? It's standard integration. It's not going to change much. So I can leave it for a year and not have to touch it.
It, it depends. I mean, I've had a few years where where I was very quiet. I mean, I was quite busy at home. I didn't have the time for it. Actually, there were a few very annoying bugs. It took me quite a while to get the GUI set up. You know, like instead of the YAML configuration moving
Yes,
into
that's right.
so. I mean, I think I had pull request open for 3 years or something like that. Like it was one, and then I closed it and I reopened it. Like so I had a few years where it was kind of dry. I wasn't really doing anything. Lately, I've been pushing quite a lot of things that were so. Once I had a few of the major bugs out of the way. There was one bug where if you would I think it was I don't remember exactly what was the scenario, but basically it would recreate those entities again with the _2 and _3 and _4, and you had to delete all, and then and people started complaining because they had to redo their automations.
Yeah, of course.
And that was that went along for a couple of years, so until I got the time to get around that one. And but now I've been pushing quite a lot of content. I mean, every few months, I push out some new stuff. I have a lot of stuff that I still want to push into it, but I mean, it's it's a lot.
Yeah,
It's a lot.
it's time, right? Like,
Yeah, it's
and
time
it's not,
exactly.
it's something you do in your spare time, and you've got to get enjoyment out of it, right?
Yeah.
And I'm guessing like a lot of the features you're putting in, you found like you'd need that in your home, right? Like you've got, oh yeah, that would be cool if I could do it this way. I can add that as a feature.
Yeah.
And rather than keeping that to yourself, you can give it back to the whole community.
Or people contacting me. You know, I get quite a lot of requests over time, and I unfortunately I tell them that I have to close those pull requests because pull requests are not mentioned, and those issues for they're not they're not used for features, and I basically tell them to I reopen them on the third party library, so you know,
Right. So you can track them.
Right.
Yeah.
so I can track them. And then yeah, so it depends on how complex it is, how much time I have. I try and figure out which one of those that I'm gonna work on. I was planning on pushing actually some changes, which at the end I didn't. So one of the things since I've been there since the early times, so uh, that was before we actually had a calendar entity. And a lot of so all of the sensors are basically this event will happen at a certain point in time. Okay, so it's very useful because you can trigger on the time that you can have a timestamp trigger, you know, at a certain time or given the offset of that time. But it's complicated because a lot of times I want to know for 1 month ahead. You know, I want to know what times something will happen or what days are holidays in the future 3 months. And that becomes quite complex. So I've been wanting to put that in, and another big request that people have been asking is to be able to use the Jewish date, the Hebrew date, as for their personal events. So a lot of people use the Hyperdate for their birthdays, for anniversaries, so they want to use those dates, and it's not. I mean, I've been talking to Alan Porter. I think it was the guy who's
Yep.
working on the calendar integration. So I talked to him about a half a year ago, and basically what I hope to be able to push is to have a kind of plug in uh, into the local calendar. So make it part of the local calendar integration. So obviously he doesn't want to pull in my whole library just for that support. But on the other hand, the the RFC for the calendar for iCal actually does support for other calendars. So you can actually have the Chinese calendar, the Jewish calendar, or any other calendars. You can use those as well for iCal. So
Nice.
we'll probably collaborate on it at some future point when I'll have. So I took the time to talk a little bit, and then other stuff came up. So I figured, I'll push it away. I'll push it for sometime in the future.
Yeah, I guess like big changes like that, they take time, right? Like they've got to, it's a lot of moving parts, and yeah,
Yeah, and here it's even more complex because I have to work with the other third party. So those are two third party libraries that need to work together to actually get the
yeah,
information, and then integrate that as part of the local calendar. So we'll have to see how this works.